Welcome to the Shadows, unearthing America's most haunted abandoned places. Hello, fellow explorers, and welcome back to another spine-tingling journey through the world of the unknown. If you're new to our channel, allow me to introduce you to the realm we call home, a sanctuary for those who dare to delve into the dark corners of history, the whispers of forgotten legends, and the unsettling allure of places where the veil between worlds grows thin. Tonight, we're venturing into the depths of America's most haunted abandoned places, a collection of eerie locations steeped in history, tragedy, and the supernatural. These are not just buildings left to decay, they are monuments to the lives once lived within their walls and the mysteries that linger long after their inhabitants have gone. Abandoned places hold a strange and magnetic appeal, don't they? They are the silent witnesses to the passage of time, where the echoes of the past seem to whisper through the crumbling brick and rusted iron. From decaying asylums to forgotten plantations, these sites have become the canvas for countless ghost stories, urban legends, and chilling encounters. But beyond the thrill of the unknown, these places are rich with historical significance, often tied to moments of triumph and tragedy that shaped the communities around them. They are testaments to human ingenuity, resilience, and sometimes the darker aspects of our shared history. As we embark on this eerie expedition, prepare yourself for an unsettling ride. The locations we'll explore are not merely settings for horror stories, they are portals to the past, where the line between reality and the supernatural blurs. Each abandoned place we visit carries its own unique energy, its own haunting tale that has left an indelible mark on those who dared to cross its threshold. Whether you're a seasoned thrill-seeker or a curious newcomer to the world of the paranormal, this journey promises to send shivers down your spine and leave you questioning what lies beyond the veil of the ordinary. So, fasten your seatbelts, dim the lights, and brace yourself for the chilling stories of America's most haunted abandoned places. The shadows are waiting, and the tales are just beginning. Eastern State Penitentiary, where the past whispers in the darkness. Nestled in the heart of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, stands one of the most infamous and chilling abandoned places in American history, Eastern State Penitentiary. Once hailed as a revolutionary model of prison reform, this towering fortress of stone and iron has long since fallen into ruin, yet it remains a place where the echoes of suffering and despair refuse to fade. Built in 1829, Eastern State was the first true penitentiary in the United States, designed to enforce solitary confinement as a means of rehabilitation. The prison's architects believed that isolation would force prisoners to reflect on their crimes and seek spiritual redemption. However, what they created instead was a place of profound psychological torment, where inmates were driven to madness in the suffocating silence of their cells. The prison's design was unlike any other of its time. A sprawling, Gothic structure with high, crumbling walls and narrow hallways, Eastern State was built to instill fear and obedience. Each prisoner was kept in complete isolation, never allowed to speak to another human being. The prison's iron doors shut with a deafening clang, sealing inmates into their own personal hells. Some prisoners spent decades in these conditions, their minds unraveling under the weight of endless solitude. Guards would even cover their feet in rags to muffle their footsteps, ensuring that the prisoners never knew when they were being watched. The result was a place where the very air seemed to carry the weight of suffering, where the walls bore witness to countless cries of anguish that would never be answered. Over the years, Eastern State housed some of the most notorious criminals in American history. Among them was Al Capone, the infamous Chicago gangster who, despite his violent past, was granted one of the most luxurious cells in the prison. His cell was furnished with rugs, a desk, and even a phonograph, a stark contrast to the bleak, unforgiving cells of the general population. Yet, even Capone could not escape the oppressive atmosphere of the penitentiary. He reportedly suffered from paranoia during his time there, claiming to hear whispers in the darkness, voices that did not belong to the living. Beyond its historical significance, Eastern State Penitentiary has become a hotspot for paranormal activity. Visitors and investigators alike have reported strange occurrences within its decaying walls. Shadowy figures have been seen moving through the prison's corridors, only to vanish when approached. Some claim to have heard the faint sounds of sobbing or the distant clanging of metal doors that no longer exist. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sound of footsteps echoing through the empty halls, as if an unseen presence is pacing the prison's long-abandoned cells. Perhaps the most unsettling reports come from cell block 12, where visitors have described a sudden drop in temperature and the overwhelming feeling of being watched. Many have claimed to hear a child's laughter echoing through the darkness, though no children were ever housed in the prison. Others have reported seeing the faint outline of a figure standing in the doorway of an empty cell, only for it to disappear when approached. Some paranormal researchers have captured what they describe as unexplained voices on audio recordings, whispers that seem to come from nowhere, speaking in languages no one can understand. Despite its grim history, Eastern State Penitentiary remains a popular destination for those drawn to the supernatural. It is open to the public as a historic site and is frequently used for paranormal investigations and ghost hunting expeditions. The prison even hosts an annual Halloween event called Terror Behind the Walls, where visitors can experience the eerie atmosphere firsthand. Whether one believes in the paranormal or not, there is an undeniable energy that lingers in the prison's crumbling hallways, a sense that the past is never truly gone. Eastern State Penitentiary stands as a testament to the darker chapters of American history, a place where punishment was meant to reform but instead left behind a legacy of suffering. And yet, even in its abandonment, the prison continues to hold secrets, its walls whispering the stories of those who once lived and died within its confines. Waverly Hills Sanatorium, the cursed hospital of Louisville, perched atop a hill in the quiet outskirts of Louisville, Kentucky, stands Waverly Hills Sanatorium, an abandoned medical facility that has become one of the most infamous haunted locations in the United States. Originally constructed in 1926 to treat tuberculosis patients during the height of the disease's epidemic, the sanatorium was designed to provide fresh air and sunlight, believed at the time to aid in recovery. However, for many who entered its doors, Waverly Hills was not a place of healing but one of despair, suffering, and ultimately, death. Over the decades, the sanatorium became synonymous with tragedy, and today, its decaying halls are said to be haunted by the lingering spirits of those who perished within its walls. During its peak, Waverly Hills was a state-of-the-art facility, boasting 5 floors, an intricate ventilation system, and an underground tunnel that led directly to the nearby train tracks. This tunnel, known as the Death Tunnel, was used to discreetly transport deceased patients out of the building without disturbing the remaining residents. Despite its advanced design, the sanatorium's efforts to combat tuberculosis were largely ineffective, and thousands of patients succumbed to the disease over the years. Many of these individuals were children, whose deaths left an indelible mark on the history of the building. The sheer volume of suffering that took place within Waverly Hills has contributed to the belief that the spirits of the departed have never truly left. One of the most frequently reported paranormal phenomena at Waverly Hills is the presence of a shadowy figure known as the Shadow Man. Witnesses describe seeing a tall, dark figure lurking in the hallways or standing at the end of empty corridors, only to vanish when approached. Some believe this entity to be the spirit of a former patient who perished in the building, while others speculate that it may be something far more sinister. In addition to the Shadow Man, visitors have reported hearing the sounds of children laughing and playing, despite the fact that no children have lived in the building for decades. Some have even claimed to see the ghostly apparitions of young boys and girls roaming the halls, their forms flickering like candlelight before disappearing into the walls. Another chilling aspect of Waverly Hills' haunted reputation is the legend of Room 510, a former patient room that is said to be the site of one of the sanatorium's most tragic deaths. According to local lore, a nurse working at the facility became so overwhelmed by the suffering of her patients that she took her own life in this room. Since then, visitors have reported hearing the sound of a woman sobbing or whispering in the darkness, and some have even claimed to see her ghostly figure standing near the window, staring out into the night. Paranormal investigators have conducted numerous studies at Waverly Hills, capturing strange occurrences on camera and audio recordings. One of the most well-documented incidents involved an investigator who claimed to have been physically pushed by an unseen force while standing in the building's hallway. Others have recorded what they describe as disembodied voices whispering unintelligible phrases, as well as sudden temperature fluctuations that cannot be explained by natural means. Some researchers have even reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread when entering certain rooms, as if an unseen presence is watching them from the shadows. Despite its haunted reputation, Waverly Hills Sanatorium remains a popular destination for paranormal enthusiasts and horror aficionados alike. The building is now privately owned, but it is frequently used for ghost hunts, paranormal investigations, and even overnight stays for those brave enough to spend the night in its decaying corridors. Whether one believes in the supernatural or not, there is an undeniable energy that lingers in the air, a feeling that the past is never truly gone. Waverly Hills Sanatorium stands as a grim reminder of a time when tuberculosis ravaged the nation, leaving behind a legacy of suffering that continues to haunt its abandoned halls. Whether the spirits of the departed still roam its corridors or if the building simply carries the weight of its tragic history, one thing is certain: those who enter Waverly Hills do so at their own risk. Etna Springs Resort, the haunted remnants of a forgotten paradise tucked away in the rolling hills of Northern California. Just beyond the bustling city of Napa Valley, lies the abandoned ruins of Etna Springs Resort, a once grand retreat that now stands as a crumbling monument to a bygone era. What was once a luxurious health resort, known for its mineral-rich hot springs and elegant accommodations, has long since fallen into disrepair, its skeletal remains swallowed by nature, and its halls echoing with the whispers of the past. But beyond its decay, Etna Springs is infamous for something far more unsettling: the belief that it is one of the most haunted places in the United States. The history of Etna Springs dates back to the mid-19th century, when the land was first settled by European pioneers. The region was known for its abundant natural hot springs, which were believed to possess healing properties. By the 1870s, the area had become a popular destination for those seeking relief from ailments, and Etna Springs Resort was established as a premier health retreat. The resort quickly gained a reputation for its grandeur, boasting a massive stone bathhouse, an elegant hotel, and even a ballroom where guests could dance the night away beneath the glow of gas lamps. For decades, Etna Springs flourished, drawing visitors from across the country who came to soak in its therapeutic waters and enjoy the serenity of the surrounding countryside. However, the resort's golden age was not to last. In the 1930s, a devastating fire swept through the property, destroying much of the main building. Though efforts were made to rebuild, the resort never fully recovered, and by the mid-20th century, it had fallen into decline. Over the decades that followed, nature reclaimed the land, and the once lavish resort became a forgotten relic of the past. Today, only the remnants of its grandeur remain: crumbling walls, rusted pipes, and the skeletal remains of the bathhouse that once drew visitors from across the country. Yet, for all its decay, Etna Springs has never been truly abandoned. Visitors who dare to explore its ruins report strange occurrences that defy explanation. Many describe an overwhelming sense of being watched, as if unseen eyes follow them through the broken hallways. Others claim to hear the faint sounds of laughter and music echoing through the empty ballroom, though no one else is present. Some even swear they have seen ghostly figures wandering the grounds, apparitions of former guests and staff who never truly left. One of the most frequently reported hauntings at Etna Springs involves the figure of a woman dressed in old-fashioned clothing, who is said to appear near the bathhouse before vanishing into thin air. According to local legend, she was a guest at the resort in the early 20th century who drowned in the mineral springs under mysterious circumstances. Some say she was searching for a lost love, while others believe she was the victim of a tragic accident. Whatever the truth may be, those who have encountered her describe an overwhelming sense of sorrow, as if she is forever trapped between worlds. Another chilling account comes from a group of hikers who stumbled upon the ruins in the 1980s. As they explored the remnants of the ballroom, they suddenly heard the sound of a piano playing softly in the distance. Thinking someone else had wandered into the ruins, they followed the music, only to find that the room was completely empty. The piano, long since decayed and missing several keys, sat untouched, yet the melody continued to play. The hikers, unnerved by the experience, fled the site and never returned. Whether the spirits of Etna Springs are merely the remnants of a forgotten past or something far more sinister, one thing is certain: the resort's history is far from over. Its ruins continue to draw those who seek the thrill of the unknown, and for those who dare to explore its crumbling halls, the echoes of the past are never truly silent. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, the haunting remains of a forgotten institution nestled in the heart of West Virginia's Appalachian Mountains. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum stands as a grim reminder of a bygone era in psychiatric history. Once one of the largest hand-cut stone buildings in the United States, this sprawling asylum was constructed in the mid-19th century to house the mentally ill, offering what was then considered progressive treatment. However, beneath its imposing Gothic facade lay a history of suffering, overcrowding, and inhumane conditions that have left behind an undeniable legacy of tragedy. Today, the asylum is abandoned, its halls eerily silent except for the whispers of the past that refuse to fade. For those who dare to enter, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is more than just a relic of history. It is a place where the echoes of suffering still linger, and where the veil between the living and the dead feels dangerously thin. The asylum's origins date back to 1858, when construction began on what was intended to be a state-of-the-art facility for treating mental illness. Designed by architect Richard Snowden Andrews, the building was a marvel of its time, featuring a massive central dome, intricate stonework, and a layout meant to promote healing through fresh air and natural light. It officially opened its doors in 1864, originally named the West Virginia Hospital for the Insane. Over the years, the asylum underwent several expansions, eventually housing thousands of patients in its towering wings. However, what was once envisioned as a place of refuge quickly became a place of horror. Conditions within the asylum deteriorated rapidly as overcrowding became a persistent issue. By the early 20th century, the facility was grossly understaffed and underfunded, leading to the widespread use of brutal and outdated treatment methods. Patients were subjected to electroshock therapy, hydrotherapy, and even lobotomies, often without consent or medical justification. Many were locked away for life with little hope of recovery, their cries for help lost within the asylum's cold stone walls. The sheer scale of suffering that took place within its halls has contributed to the belief that the spirits of the departed still wander its corridors, trapped in an eternal cycle of torment. One of the most frequently reported paranormal phenomena at the asylum involves the sound of children's laughter echoing through the empty halls, despite the fact that no children were housed there in its final years. Some visitors claim to see the faint outlines of figures darting through the doorways, only to vanish when approached. Others have reported hearing the distant sounds of sobbing, as if the building itself is mourning the suffering that once took place within its walls. Perhaps the most unsettling account comes from the hospital's basement, where patients were once subjected to experimental treatments. Many investigators claim that the basement is the most haunted area of the entire asylum, with reports of shadowy figures appearing in the corners of the eye and an overwhelming sense of dread that settles over those who venture too deep. One of the most infamous rooms within the asylum is known as the Whispering Room, located in the original West Wing. Visitors have described hearing faint voices whispering unintelligible phrases, as if unseen patients are still pleading for help. Some claim to hear their names being called from the darkness, though no one else is present. Others have reported feeling sudden, unexplained chills, as if something unseen is standing just behind them. The room's history is particularly disturbing, as it was once used for solitary confinement, where patients were left in complete darkness for extended periods, sometimes for weeks or even months at a time. Many believe that the spirits of these forgotten souls still linger, unable to move on. Despite its haunted reputation, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum remains a popular destination for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers. The building is now privately owned and has been partially restored for tours and overnight stays, allowing visitors to experience the eerie atmosphere firsthand. Many have captured strange occurrences on camera and audio recordings, including unexplained shadows, disembodied voices, and sudden temperature fluctuations. The Island of the Dolls, a haunting legacy of tragedy tucked away in the quiet waterways of southern England, hidden among the reeds and willows, lies a place unlike any other, a small island shrouded in mystery, where hundreds of dolls hang from the trees and buildings, their glassy eyes staring into the void. This is the Island of the Dolls, a place that exudes an unsettling aura, where the air seems thick with sorrow and the whispers of the past never truly fade. The island's eerie collection of dolls, many of them battered and decaying, is the work of one man, Edward James, a reclusive caretaker who lived alone on the island for over 7 decades. His obsession with the dolls was not born from whimsy but from a deep, tragic grief that shaped the very fabric of this haunted place. Edward James first arrived on the island in the 1930s, taking up residence in a modest cottage nestled among the willow trees. According to local legend, his fascination with the dolls began after he witnessed the drowning of a young girl in the nearby river. The tragedy haunted him, and he became convinced that the girl's spirit lingered in the water, restless and seeking solace. Determined to appease the girl's spirit, he began collecting dolls, hanging them from the trees and buildings in what he believed would offer her comfort. However, his obsession did not end there. Years later, another tragedy struck when a second girl drowned in the same river. This time, James was devastated beyond repair. He became convinced that the girl's spirit, too, had taken refuge on his island, and he continued his ritual of collecting dolls, adding more and more to the ever-growing collection. Some say he even scoured junkyards and flea markets, searching for broken, damaged dolls that he believed represented the suffering of lost souls. Over time, the island became a grotesque tribute to grief, a place where hundreds of dolls hung from the branches, their limbs twisted, their faces frozen in expressions of terror. Visitors to the island today describe a deeply unsettling experience. The dolls, battered by time and weather, sway gently in the wind, their hollow eyes seeming to follow anyone who dares to walk the narrow paths. Some claim that on quiet days, when the wind dies down and the only sound is the rustling of leaves, they can hear faint whispers drifting through the trees, voices that do not belong to the living. Others report feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness, as if the island itself mourns the tragedies that inspired its creation. Hoia Forest, the most haunted forest in the world deep within the Carpathian Mountains of Transylvania, lies a place whispered about in hushed tones, a forest so steeped in legend and mystery that it has earned the title of the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. Known as Hoia Forest, this dense, ancient woodland has long been the subject of folklore, paranormal investigations, and even UFO sightings. For centuries, locals have spoken of strange occurrences within its shadowed glades, ghostly apparitions, eerie voices, and even time anomalies where minutes stretch into hours, and travelers vanish without a trace. Whether the forest is truly cursed or simply a place where the veil between worlds grows thin, one thing remains certain: Hoia is a place where the supernatural feels disturbingly close. The history of Hoia Forest stretches back to the earliest days of human civilization. Archaeological evidence suggests that the area was once home to the Dacians, an ancient civilization that thrived in the region before the Roman conquest. Some believe that the forest was once a sacred site for the Dacians, a place where rituals and sacrifices were carried out beneath the towering oaks and twisted pines. Local legends speak of an ancient temple hidden deep within the woods, where priests once communed with the gods. Though whether these stories are rooted in truth or mere superstition remains unknown. One of the earliest recorded accounts of the forest's eerie reputation comes from the 18th century, when a shepherd named Johan Ursa claimed to have witnessed a terrifying event. According to his testimony, he had been tending to his flock when he saw a group of people emerging from the woods, strangely dressed, speaking in an unknown language, and behaving in a manner unlike anything he had ever seen. As he watched, the figures suddenly vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a trail of scorched earth. The incident was dismissed at the time as the ramblings of a frightened man, but it would not be the last time Hoia was linked to the unexplained. In the 20th century, the forest gained international attention when a group of students from Bucharest University conducted an archaeological expedition in the area. As they explored the dense underbrush, they reported experiencing a range of unexplained phenomena: sudden temperature drops, strange lights flickering between the trees, and the overwhelming sensation of being watched. Some members of the team even claimed to hear whispers in their ears, though no one else was present. The expedition ended abruptly when one of the students, Marius Constantinescu, disappeared without a trace. Despite extensive searches, no sign of him was ever found, and his disappearance remains unsolved to this day. the most haunted house in America, tucked away in the heart of Louisiana's Bayou country, nestled along the banks of the Mississippi River, stands Myrtle's Plantation, a grand, antebellum estate that has earned the chilling title of the most haunted house in America. With its elegant Greek Revival architecture, sprawling verandas, and lush gardens, the plantation exudes a timeless beauty. But beneath its picturesque exterior lies a dark and tragic history, one that has given rise to countless ghost stories and supernatural encounters. From shadowy figures wandering the halls to the unmistakable scent of lilac trailing behind unseen presences, Myrtle's Plantation is a place where the past refuses to rest. The origins of the plantation date back to 1796, when it was first built by David Bradford, a wealthy lawyer and rumored participant in the Whiskey Rebellion. However, the most infamous chapter of Myrtle's history began in 1834, when Clark Woodruff, a prominent St. Francisville lawyer, purchased the estate and transformed it into a thriving cotton plantation. Woodruff, along with his wife Sarah and their 2 children, moved into the grand home, unaware that tragedy was soon to strike. The most well-known haunting at Myrtle's is that of Chloe, an enslaved woman who worked in the Woodruff household. According to legend, Chloe fell in love with Clark Woodruff, and in a desperate bid to secure her freedom and become his wife, she plotted to poison Sarah and the children. Using strychnine-laced cake, she poisoned Sarah, killing her instantly. However, the plan went horribly wrong. Clark's 2 children, Eliza and Francis, also ate the poisoned cake and died in agonizing pain. Chloe was quickly discovered and brutally punished, either by being whipped to death or hanged, depending on the version of the story. Since then, Chloe's spirit has allegedly never left the plantation. Visitors and residents alike have reported seeing a tall, black woman in a 19th-century servant's dress wandering the halls and staircases of Myrtle's. Some claim she has been seen peering out of the second-floor windows, her face twisted in sorrow. Others have reported the unmistakable scent of lilac, the fragrance she supposedly wore, trailing behind them as they walk through the house. The most chilling accounts come from guests who have awoken in the middle of the night to find a strange woman standing at the foot of their beds, watching them in silence before vanishing into the darkness. The Stanley Hotel, the inspiration for The Shining and a hub for the supernatural, perched high in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, overlooking the town of Estes Park, stands the Stanley Hotel, a grand, red-brick Victorian-era establishment that has become synonymous with both luxury and the supernatural. Built in 1909 by F.O. Stanley, the co-inventor of the Stanley steamer automobile, the hotel was originally intended as a retreat for wealthy visitors seeking respite in the fresh mountain air. Its elegant architecture, sweeping staircases, and breathtaking views made it a popular destination, attracting celebrities, politicians, and dignitaries from across the country. However, beneath its polished surface lies a history steeped in tragedy, mystery, and paranormal activity, so much so that it served as the inspiration for Stephen King's The Shining, a novel that brought the eerie essence of haunted hotels into the mainstream consciousness. The hotel's haunted reputation began long before King's infamous stay in Room 217, which would later inspire the Overlook Hotel in The Shining. According to local lore, Flora Stanley, the wife of the hotel's founder, was particularly fond of the property and played an active role in its operation. When she passed away in 1955, many believed her spirit remained within the hotel, watching over the guests and staff. Indeed, numerous employees and visitors have reported seeing a ghostly woman in a flowing white dress, often described as graceful and serene, wandering the halls late at night. Some claim she appears near the grand piano in the lobby, where she once played beautifully during the hotel's heyday. Final thoughts. The echoes of the forgotten. As we bring this journey through America's most haunted abandoned places to a close, one truth becomes undeniable. These locations are far more than crumbling buildings or overgrown ruins. They are repositories of history, tragedy, and the inexplicable, where the past refuses to fade into silence. From the oppressive solitude of Eastern State Penitentiary to the childlike laughter echoing through the halls of Waverly Hills, each site carries a story steeped in suffering, mystery, and the lingering presence of something beyond our understanding. These places remind us that the human experience, its triumphs, its horrors, and its unspoken fears, is etched into the very walls of the structures we leave behind. What makes these abandoned places so captivating is their ability to blur the line between reality and the supernatural. They are time capsules of emotion, where the joy, despair, and terror of those who once lived within their walls seem to seep into the air itself. Whether it's the phantom whispers of the Trans-Allegheny lunatic asylum, the unsettling stillness of the Villisca Axe murder house, or the eerie dance of dolls swaying in the wind at Hoax's Island of the Dolls, these locations challenge our perceptions of what is possible. They force us to confront the possibility that the human spirit, or perhaps something else entirely, might not always move on when life ends. Yet, beyond the chills and thrills, these places also serve as poignant reminders of the lives that once filled them. They are testaments to the resilience of communities, the failures of institutions, and the enduring impact of human decisions on the spaces we inhabit. To explore them is to walk the fine line between curiosity and reverence, between the desire to uncover the unknown and the responsibility to honor what came before. So, as you step away from this tale, we invite you to share your own stories. Have you ever visited an abandoned place that left you with an unshakable feeling of unease? Have you encountered something you can't explain in the silence of an empty building or the shadows of an overgrown forest? Drop your experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear from fellow explorers who have felt the pull of the forgotten. And if you enjoyed this journey through the haunted corners of America, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another spine-chilling adventure. Until next time, remember, the past is never truly gone. It lingers in the rusted hinges of abandoned doors, in the flicker of candlelight that no longer burns, and in the whispers carried by the wind through empty corridors. For those who dare to listen, the stories of these haunted places are far from over. Safe travels, and may the echoes of the forgotten never follow you home.